Hi, my name is Ashley Packer. I'm with the Sustainability Office at Mohawk College, and today we're going to talk about container gardening. Every plant has different needs, but today we're going to work with some common plants that do really well in containers. We're going to get started with some strawberries, and so for strawberries, they have very shallow roots, so you can use a container that isn't as deep. So for them, about an 8-inch deep container is perfect. They just need some room to be able to spread. For the soil that you're going to use, a potting mix is going to be best because it's nice and it's light and fluffy. You can't just go out and use dirt from the ground because it's going to be too compact. So any potting mix that says it works well with vegetables is going to be good to go. So fill it up majority of the way, but leave about an inch at the top so that when you're watering later on, the soil and the water don't run over the edge. So next, I'm just going to plant these plants into the planter. There are about 3 of them in this container here, so I'm going to make 3 holes and get it ready for them. To get plants out of the pot, just tip them over lightly, and if you squeeze the bottom, you're going to be able to kind of shake the plant out without damaging the plant or the roots. So I'm just lightly taking each plant and kind of separating the roots out, trying not to damage any of the roots. You could also just leave it all as one if you feel more comfortable with that. But I just want to spread it out a little bit in this container to give them some more room to grow. So now that I know how deep the roots are, I can actually dig a spot for them. With strawberries, they have a crown of the plant, which is the very top of the plant, and you'll be able to see it. It's where the roots all start coming from, and it's a little bit harder. And so you want to make sure that you're not burying that, because you can actually end up having the plant rot. So if anything, have it come a little bit above the top of the soil. And then once it's in there and at the level that you want it, you can just start packing in the soil around it. So get it in there nice and firm so that it's not going to move away once you actually water it. And then just do that for the rest of them until you're done. Again, making sure that the crown is not covered. So once your plants are nice and covered, that's when you can water them. Now with watering, you want to make sure that you're using a watering can or something that's going to let the water out slowly. And that's because, especially with new plants or even seeds, you can really disrupt the seeds and the roots and end up hurting the plants if you do it too fast. So you want something that's going to be nice and slow. Container plants dry out really easily because they don't have that groundwater underneath. So you need to make sure that you're watering them fairly regularly. In the spring times, it may not be every day. You can kind of check the soil and see, but especially in the middle of the summer, you're going to be watering it every single day. And you also want to make sure that your container has good drainage to it so that the water can flow through, so that it's not sitting at the bottom and rotting your roots. And so that is everything for strawberries. So now we can move on to our beans and our lettuce. So for beans and lettuce, I'm going to be doing some seeds that I have. And again, these are varieties that have shallow roots, and so I can do them in a more shallow container. This one is about 8 inches, which is perfect. For this, same thing, potting soil about an inch from the top so that it doesn't overflow. But for seeds specifically, I'm going to be making 2 kind of like trenches across and planting my seeds in there. With lettuce seed, you're going to plant about 1 inch apart, and then after that you can thin it as it comes up. But you just want to be careful not to plant too much because it can get very out of control very quickly. So just in your line that you've created, just do about 1 inch apart. So that side we can cover up lightly, and you want to plant maybe about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch of the way down, and then pat it down nice and firm so that the seeds aren't going to go anywhere. With bean seeds, they're a little bit bigger of a plant, so these ones I'm going to be planting 3 to 4 inches apart in a line on the other side of my planter here. These ones, same thing, about 1/2 an inch of the way down. And then again, you're going to cover them up, pat them down firmly, and then once you water it, you're good to go. And then with this one, same thing, especially with seeds, you're going to water them every single day, except for if it rains or if you're noticing that the soil is very moist. Next, we're going to plant a little bit of a herb garden here, and so you want to plant herbs that all have very similar needs to them. So today I'm going to be doing oregano, some basil here, and some dill, and that's because they all like more moist soil. They're okay with it being a little wet, and then they also all like 12-inch pots. So this one here I have a little bit taller, but a little bit thinner. Another option of a group that you could do is like thyme, rosemary and tarragon, and all of those like it when it's more dry. So again, just look for ones that have similar properties. They always say on the back of the card when you're buying them what they like, so I like to just kind of look for similar ones. So this is my oregano here. So same thing, you can tip the pot over and you can kind of just squeeze it to get the plant to come out. You can see this one here has a lot of roots, so it really wanted a new pot. So just break it up at the bottom here to let it know that it can start growing its roots outward. And so same thing for this, just dig a hole for it on one side of the container, and then get it so that the base of the plant is even with the base of the soil. And just push down around it so that you're getting any air pockets so water doesn't collect in the air pockets. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the basil plants. And now on the other side, I'm going to do some dill seed that I have here. So the thing I want to be careful with the dill seed is that it is going to get very tall. So when I place my pot towards the north side, so that as it grows, it doesn't shade my other plants. So I'm just going to sprinkle a few in here, and then I'm going to cover the seed with soil. So again, about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch down. Pat it down so they don't go anywhere. And then I'm going to water everything nicely. And so now that is everything for our little herb planter here. When I'm choosing where to put my planters, I'm going to want to remember that plants need about 6 to 8 hours of sunlight a day. And so I'm going to pick the sunniest spot on my deck here and put them in it. And so now I hope you've learned a little bit about container gardening so that you can go on and grow some of your own. Happy growing!